So what an honour it is to be here in Tauranga in front of these legends who have given so much to us for the sport, both individually and in teams racing. It's a massive thanks to you drivers over the years for putting on a show for us fans, and Kerry for opening your shed, and partner for opening your shed. Also to Trout for coming on board for Harford Excavations. It's good that you've come on board for this. This is the 25th edition of Smack Talk, and so we're real excited to do this show. And before we get into this, we'll do a big shout out to Rex Pollock for everything he's done for Baypark, Speedway and Tauranga. So quick raise your glasses and cheers to it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So Dutchie, we'll start off with yourself. Long time ago, back in 1977, you got yourself into Speedway. How did that come to be?
I had a mate that owned half shares on a car, and he sort of egged me on to come and have a drive, so I drove the first race of the night in the wet. And I started a little bit of throttle control. I think I got lapped twice in my first race, but then after that I seemed to be magic in the wet, and I got all his drives and started the year later.
Nice one. So this was at the old Forest Lake?
Yeah, it was a brilliant old track, just a pity it had to close, but it's one of the RIP tracks around the country.
Yeah, so would have been some hard drivers to cut your teeth with back then. A few of those...
Yeah, Mad Mac, McDonald, Snoopy, Featherstone, yeah, to name a few.
So glad Charlie make a few appearances?
Yeah, he came up the odd time, and we had Rex Neal back in the day, and a few from Auckland come through. Yeah, there was some wicked teams racing. They used to go across the ditch, and there was Dane Plummer, Phil Game used to go across the middle of the track. That's the ditch.
Good times back then.
Yeah.
Yourself, Rodney, as well. You started racing street stocks in the 80s there. What are your earliest memories of Speedway?
As a kid, I used to go to Baypark Campground and watch racing. Saying how before we used to watch the stock cars, and the last race they ever did was the figure 8 racing there. So sort of got hooked on it as a kid watching, and then did a couple of derbies, and then before you know it, I was into street stocks. And yeah, as a young kid, didn't have any money, used to tow up to the track with a rusty old Holden station wagon, dragging along the ground, and yeah, got racing street stocks. So.
The class was quite strong in Tauranga back in those days.
Yeah, they were street stocks back then used to sort of race under the old stock car. Our rules were basically the same as stock car rules, and it was full contact. It was all on, and we were teams racing. We were just winding each other off the end, race after race. So I think it probably helped refine my skills really in those early years. You're forever in contact. You know, somebody was leaning on you somewhere or trying to put you in the wall somewhere. So it was good for my skills to take that at that stage before we got into stock cars.
Nice. Mark, I believe, back in the 80s as well, cut your teeth in street stocks?
Yeah, I used to grab the track a lot. Back bumper always used to fall off because we were still like, Rodney said, we were all learning stuff, so I was learning the world, but yeah, didn't really cut it very much.
You two rivals once upon a time?
No, I'd actually finished street stocks when Rodney started. I raced right back when Ryan Gibney was basically the top street stock driver, and my brother David was too. Yeah, so I qualified for the first North Island when we had it at Baypark, but David was in contention on the second to last race, so he stole all my carburetor and my distributor, so I had to knock out, so David had to go through and win it. So yeah, I did my bit for my brother.
And you grew up, Speedway was in the blood?
Yeah, all the way through. Yeah, like I went to Forest Lake and used to watch Dutchie over there. Yeah, back in the day, yeah, like Dutchie said, it was a good track, good spectators track. Grew up with the old man and spent many a night at the Pepmar Tap.
The old man used to control the Baypark track and get everything ready for the boys.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yep. Now the old man, when he took over promotion, he was promoted for 9 years at the new Baypark, and part of the deal of getting a stock car that David and I and our mates actually had to build the grandstands down Birch Avenue in the sheds. So that's how we got all the grandstands up at Baypark. So yeah, that's how I ended up in a stock car.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Kerry, yourself, you spent a lot of time on the Baypark toilets there, sucking back a few beers. You found yourself behind the wheel before too long?
Yeah, done a, that was sort of early 90s, done a few demo derbies, and yeah, it's all I sort of did a few demo derbies, even did one with horse back in the day, before then, and I think I jumped into Mark's car for the first skid in about 93, the end of 93, and then my family owned the car that Craig Best was driving back then, 66M, so between having a few skids in Mark's car and having a few skids in Craig's car, sort of Craig shifted off to Auckland, and that's when I jumped into the seat.
Nice. And some big boys you went up against at Baypark there?
Yeah, there's some top names back then. I was still just the young fella, but I think sort of jumped in there and was on the pace straight away, so it's pretty good just coming from bloody the Datsun out on the gravel. That was my lead up into racing, but yeah, self-taught.
Okay. Horse yourself as well, as Gary just mentioned, started off with the derbies.
Yeah, and then early 90s we got into street stocks as well. It was when Rodney was, I think he won 1NZ then when we got into it. And yeah, me and Dad bought the car ourselves and we were pretty green, and I think our first car only lasted half a dozen meetings. We just got destroyed. And yeah, like I say, we were pretty green. We used to go out there and just do what we could do, and no money, same thing. We used to get a hiding, and then it wasn't until the season later we found out all these guys were actually cheating anyway. The guys were all these tricks that they had filling their chassis up with concrete and stuff, and we were doing that. So we were just getting a hiding week after week, but it was cool. We had a ball, and yeah, then the old Baypark shut down, so yeah, we moved on.
Actually, I'll chip in on that because you know, you always get these accusations of you cheating. And so it was near the end of our street stock time, and I was selling my car, so one of the Matamata guys bought it because they wanted to try and find out what was in it and what you're doing and all this stuff, and they couldn't find anything. So there you go.
Pulled it all out.
First pulled the sponsorship.
Street stocks were pretty vicious back then, and you get an out of towner would come to town and come and race at a local title, maybe Baypark Plenty Champs or something, and you'd ride this shiny street stock. Most of them weren't shiny, his was all pretty.
Right,
By the end of the night he's going on the tow truck.
Yeah, it's a massive competition back then. There was obviously the Red Real boys and local boys like Mark Carlisle and Red Reed and all that sort of stuff, and the Auckland boys would come through. And
I always remember
Santa and Herbie and all that.
Flipper and Skippy.
I always remember one night we were there racing, and Flipper hit the pit gate and broke the pit gate, and I was like, Dad, I think we're doing something wrong here. We were just getting little taps and our car was folding in half, and he was snapping the pit gate. So,
Might be a little bit extra.
I don't care what Rodney says, they were cheating.
Rodney might have been the exception.
So Cole, you're probably one of the last on the stock car scene. So tell us how you got into Speedway.
Yeah, the baby.
I'm just glad that it's going in age format because I was on the so I didn't realise you'd done sort of date of birth before we started.
I did my homework, mate.
Yeah,
Still the
I
grades.
think I started in 99 or 2000, I think. And I don't know, I just had a rally car and then went and watched Palmy teams, actually looking at one of Kerry's old photos, and I think Kerry looked like he was about 12, but he might have been 21 or something. But,
19, mate, always 19.
we just watched it and thought it was pretty cool, so bought a car and went racing there the following year, so that was good.
And so as I understand, just 6 odd races before you represented Bay Plenty.
Yeah, I went and did the New Zealand's. I think you had to do 3 meetings or something to do the New Zealand, so did the New Zealand Champs and raced the Palmy on the way home, must have been the 240s, and then on the way home they rang me up and said, oh, do you want a teams race? So I was like, yeah, that was cool. So I think we might have only got the phone call on the Wednesday and we're into it on Friday.
Nice one. We'll dive back into that one a bit later. You've all had some pretty good moments in the Superstock class. Dutchy yourself, unfortunately a bridesmaid a lot of your career and one of the most targeted third heat drivers I've ever seen. But yeah, tell us a few heartbreaking stories.
Oh, I suppose I got a few magnets on my car and probably my mouth didn't help too much. Yeah, I got taken out about 8 titles, but I thought one day I'll get it, and I still keep thinking that. But yeah, I got second, and I think I've been right on that podium so many times, but that was part of it, to just try and beat the other competitors. There was a good group in the early days, you all had respect for one another, much as nobody did the dirty, but you just outraced them.
So I mean, the one that probably got away the most was that freeway runoff in Gisborne.
In Gisborne, yeah.
Free, so
I
talk us through free balls there.
the old freeboards here, living in my house and took me out, so that didn't sit too good. I kicked him out after that anyway. And he was going out with my sister, so it didn't sit too good. Two Hamilton people, so it was unfortunate we didn't get our shit together and Dave Tennant slipped through, but hey, that's the way it goes, it's part of Speedway.
Still turns out at the end of the day, which is massive.
Yeah. Oh, it was brilliant being part of it and the people that are around the Speedway, and it's still there now, even with the golden oldies and everything, and all these fellas sitting here. It's a good history, and you know, just love it.
93, 94, when I got 3 ends, Dutchie and I started close off to the back, and for some reason I must have got a good break, and I got up and behind Dutchie, and I thought, well, Dutchie is a fucking good one, I'll follow Dutchie. Little did I know that Rex Neal wanted him. So Rex Neal got both of us in the wall, and I managed to get out to come back to come third, but I thought once I got him behind Dutchie, I'd just follow him because he had good lines. So yeah, that pretty much screwed me.
So yeah, that champs at Waikaraka, you're actually up on points going into that third heat.
Yeah, eight points up going into the last heat.
Yeah.
And then I started off the back, and like I said, followed Dutchie, and
Yeah.
we went into turns 3 and 4, and here was Rex Neal down the pole line. I didn't even see him, he just turned straight out right. Dutchie had to go, and
Yeah.
I went with him.
That's one of the biggest, I guess, regrets in the sport.
Oh yeah, everybody says, why did you follow Dutchie? Well, I didn't know.
I think that was the first time I ever worked with a team. I was always on my own before that,
Yeah.
and I thought it might work for me once and everyone else was doing it, and I still got nailed.
Did it hinder you guys a little bit that there were so many Tauranga cars up on points going into that?
Yeah, because we're all good.
Well, it was, because I mean, that was a fast final 26.
Yeah,
I think the
And
top, out
unfortunately,
of the top 7, I think 5 of them were Baypark cars.
Right, it was,
and unfortunately, Rotorua sort of, we were working together and then they turned dog as they normally do. And they started attacking us and helped Kevin freeze through. So it was unfortunate, but hey, been there, done that.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Another year.
Yeah, just another one.
Another bit of a heartbreaking one for you was the old North Island Champs in 2005 in Gisborne. There, you had that one in the bag.
Oh yes, and you know that was a story that was utter bullshit. Because the simple fact is, I got blamed for something with Keith McCabe that happened a year before there, and I had nothing to do it when the Waves were running 2 identical cars. They should ride back at the track, and somebody said that they'd swap engines or cars or bodies, and then of course the year after that, when Wade was in the tank, apparently it was a get back. So yeah, I should have had that one too.
Yeah, it was unfortunate because I remember I was at that meeting and there you were flying.
I was flying. Yeah, apparently I was the only car that had the right setup, and I don't even know what I did.
Welcome to my world.
Just another Saturday night.
No, that video, like I say, we should have won that, and yeah, Wade never touched me before that whole year, and it was just that one race, that last race.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that got away.
So as I understand, speaking of Gisborne, I read in a dirt track once that it was actually your bogey track, and then you took the hot rod there and won the Grand Prix in 2003.
Yeah, no, we it was a bogey track after later on because they changed it to the banking, but yeah, early on, yeah, 03, we just had an awesome year, not long in the car, and yeah, just hooked up. We had 3 good races. I think I had a back grid, and I think I come through to something like 3rd or something, and that just set me up in the last race. Yeah, we were able to cruise a little bit and managed to still win it by, I think Rodney was up there somewhere, and we still won it by 1 point.
All the tracks have been bogey tracks for you since.
And that was, who rounded off that podium was Stan and Frankie Roman Jr. Was it?
No,
Oh no, that was that Grand Prix that Mark was in actually.
I think it was Stan and Rodney.
Right, it was, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
You know, it was good to beat you.
Rodney, you had a lot of good moments, good times in your careers, a lot of meetings that got away from you, but you're a three-time North Island champ there as a part of that, and most of those were pretty hard earned. One that always sticks to mind was at North Islands in Wanganui. Massive meeting, good finalists in that one. You had a certain tank that was hunting you out in that final.
Yeah, Scotty Myers had my number in that one, and he was there lap after lap waiting for me, and
Shane was up too.
yeah.
Did you guys have that genuine agreement to duke it out amongst yourselves?
Yeah, we were just fighting for ourselves, and but you know, Scotty had a couple of shots to try and get me, and he hadn't got me, I bombed him a couple of times on the way through, and then finally there was one that he just wound me off. Shane was right in front of me, so I dived in, leaned on Shane, backed us both in the wall. Red lights come on, Shane's out cold. My car's starting to catch on fire as I'm trying to refire it, trying to get some air back in the lungs. And Scotty's got his bumper up in the window and just happened to get a gear and take off, sort of under the reds, but just moved a bit to be able to say that, yeah, I'm good to go.
Managed to keep your composure. Was it a timely red light?
No, I would have been happy to just keep going, but yeah, and we were pretty lucky to come out and survive. It was a pretty good hit, so that trucked on for a win, so it was good.
Individually, what's one of your greatest moments that you had out there?
In stock cars? Oh, there's plenty, you know, like, hey, we never actually won the New Zealand title, but quite a few years they used to have an ITM series, you know, and you'd race at 9 racetracks across the country, and if you actually won that, it was probably a better measure of who was up there than a one-night race, you know.
I got second in that as well.
Good on you.
I got third twice.
So yeah, some good years in those. Numerous titles, lots of good times, lots of fun. Yeah, smashed out of a few titles, but that's how it goes.
Nice. Kyle, as Mitch Vickery puts it, has been one NZ, you had your moment of Wanganui there. So, but that was an awesome meeting. I mean, you went into the runoff and, you know, basically made a fool of Henry to make that title yours, so good memories.
Yeah, no, it was good. We've only been to Wanganui once, so we've still got a 100% strike rate there. Too scared to go back there actually against Scotland. No, it was good. We had a good fast car that year, and yeah, probably all panned out for us. We were obviously tied on points after the third heat, and I was just stoked to be 2 NZ and change my number actually. So first probably I'd got second to Wayne actually at the North Islands a couple of weeks before that. It was the first time I'd been on the podium actually for individual, and so it was pretty cool. And I just went out there and thought, oh, who cares? I'll just smash him and try and put a show on, you know. And yeah, actually worked out in our favour. But I would have been probably just as happy back then. I'd have been just as happy to be 2 NZ.
Nice one. And I mean, to go to a track like that for your first time must be pretty pleasing.
Yeah, had a pretty good crew back then. I had my brother and Fuzz. They were pretty studying setups, and we were changing stuff every race, and we spent quite a bit of time. You know, I think we did 7 runs at the practice, and I think we must have used the most fuel at practice actually, but it panned out to be good, you know, and it's probably our start of our good individual career.
Nice. What's yourself, what's some of your greatest moments that you've had out on the track there?
Most of mine are just teams racing really. That's what I sort of had the passion for, was teams racing, you know, and sort of we get good results too, so majority of mine is just teams racing, you know, and sort of being out there.
Yeah, for sure. The tank always used to hook up though and get into that final 26.
Yeah, we used to do alright in it, but we sort of, I wasn't anywhere up with all these legends here, but you know, we done our best, and yeah, like I say, teams racing was our forte sort of thing.
Was it pretty pleasing for you to see the tank perform when Scotty Redfern was able to win in Mike Racker?
Yeah, well, yeah. It was sort of quite good that he won the GP in it, but then I sort of thought, fuck, how can he do it? No, he could have done that. It was sort of like they said over the thing that he'd won the New Zealand GP, and I was like, oh, that's a bit fucking embarrassing. But, like, Scotty's a good peddler, and you know, everything sort of went his way, and yeah, it was good to see him go well on it.
So New Zealand's at Waikareaka this year, is that on the cards?
Well, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm supposed to be getting out of it and doing spinning that other thing, but I'm struggling a little bit to let go of Superstocks, so I've still got it, but I'll see, they're both the same weekend, so I have to decide what I'm going to do, I guess.
Toss a coin.
So we are here to talk about the Baypark buses, and what an awesome story it is really as well. It's been one that's had to rebuild itself 3 or 4 times over the years, and there's a few interesting stories that come out of that. So Dutchie, you were the first on the teams racing scene as a part of the Tauranga Terrors, I believe it was called.
Well, we got called a dream team for a start. That's how it started, but yeah, it sort of all stemmed from Waikato. We had a good team there that year, and all the drivers said they weren't coming together the year after. So
Well, we're going back even further than that, Dutch. This is 1982 here.
yeah,
So what are your first memories from those team champs? You were racing with the likes of Craig Taylor and Dave as well, Dave Hutton.
yeah. We got. I decided we'd get a lot of drivers together, and Clark Proctor came in on board, and we were supposed to go to either Auckland or Tauranga. Frank Irvine never turned up, so Clark offered me $1,000 to change the colour of my car, which I said, fuck off. And eventually we agreed. I went to England, and in the meantime Clark put the package together with Rex, who, you know, this is memorial for him, and he's ever since then backed Baypark Busters all the way through, and he was a brilliant sponsor, and that's how we got together. And because we had so much gear, we probably overdid it to start with. We had the spare engines, and we had a clown, and we had the old square bush. It was a brilliant start, and yeah, we might have over-excelled at the beginning, but the first year we didn't get anywhere because we were too public icons, and the year later we made our mark.
So how was that perceived at the time when the Dream Team came about? You know, there's all the rumours in the pits of contracting elsewhere and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of people probably don't remember that you actually started your team's racing career with Tauranga.
yeah, you got a lot of flack because you were pirates from another track, but we did all contract to the track, and we raced there all year and looked after the club, and we earned our spot, and we got the team together, and it just happened to be a lot of good drivers.
You take a sense of pride with the way that it was all done and the presentation and everything that went with it?
Yeah, I helped initiate it with Clark, and I was team captain, and yeah, it was brilliant. And when we won that one at Palmer, it was just electric. And that was the first year we dragged the whole team, drivers, everybody on the track, because everyone behind the scenes puts the effort in, and we started thanking everybody like they should all the time, and they've done it ever since, so it was brilliant.
Nice.
A dream come true.
Yep, nice.
So Dream Team could have been the right name.
That's the one. So we will dive back into that meeting in itself. Mark, you the year before had your first spin with the 91-92 Baypark Busters. So how did that come to be? I think we touched on it earlier.
Yeah,
a lot of those big names weren't.
Yeah, well, Piercy and Carlisle and Butcher and Shane Anderson, they just decided they just didn't want to race. We were the year before, we were actually the Baypark Bulldogs. Not quite the same team there, but so we were the Bulldogs, so the Busters said that they were going to have a year off. So then they basically just took the Bulldog team up, we became the Busters. Because my father owned our two cars, so Dave Roygard was contracted to us, Craig Beaumont was a newbie, and Grant Minton was just getting into Superstocks. So we just put that together. At Baypark we didn't do too well, we went over to Rotorua, 8-car teams race. I think the second race we took out Rotorua.
Right, yeah.
And we just went forward from there. When we were at Baypark, I was actually, we had a manager, Nellie Irvine was our manager, and I was the blocker and David was the runner. Didn't seem to work out that well, so when we went to Rotorua, the old man took over as the coach and manager and changed me to runner and my brother David to blocker. And David just went from blocker on from there because he was a brilliant blocker. And I was the main runner.
Nice. Good feeling. I mean, you were also young back then, and probably an underrated team. And like I said, you took out those rebels who were very experienced. And
yeah. Where are we?
But as we kind of looked into it, that was the first ever team to win a title for Baypark.
Yeah, like you said, when you said that, I didn't actually know that. But back then, I was working at HT Plywood and we were on shift work, and I couldn't actually even get to Rotorua. I didn't actually get to Rotorua that night till 6:30. David, my brother, took out my car to just make sure it was going any good. Spun up in every corner, couldn't drive it, and I just kept it. My brother and I, we always had two different setups. Craig Pearce used to set up my car. Back in the days when we were setting up cars, Murray Gorge was a very tight person, wanted tight cars with only an inch under your wheels. And Craig Pearce came along and jacked mine up to 2 3/4 inch under the right front,
Go on.
and she just went. And then, of course, we didn't have power then that we do today, so car's a lot tighter now.
Nice. Well, back to that dream team, a bit of a grudge match in the final of that 94 final with your rivals Rotorua. But talk us through that final race that you hit there.
Well, the race started off looking good for us, and sort of halfway through Rotorua turned it on us. They put me and Ian together and took us out full noise, and I couldn't even hear my car starting, there was that much noise, so got spun infield, sat there for half a lap while Curly carried on, and then luckily I got it fired up, started going, and Craig Pearce was in a running role and he got spun up as well. He was the third runner, so then Craig went into his mode that he normally does and destroyed as many Rotorua cars as he could, and I got back on track. Curly got taken out and I just kept pumping and Craig just kept killing them. And then Hobbsy went in full noise and just ended up blowing his engine and everything infield, and Rex Neal had that much power. He never thought anyone could pass him. We did it 3 times, frustrated them, and ended up taking it, and it was just sensational. And it got the whole place going.
Ah, that's awesome. You actually was talking to me earlier and you said you had a plan for Craig Pearce every time you teams race with him, so what's that about?
Yeah, well, every time I put Craig in a running role and he got taken out, he would just turn into a mean blocking machine and just take anything out. And he just parked himself up and he would just backwards and forwards until there was no opposition going. And it worked. It made the plan and helped us gain 2 or 3 titles. So, yeah, no. Awesome.
It's alright when you don't own the car, eh?
Yeah, well that helped. So yeah, that was a turning point of our team and got us on track.
You came back to Tauranga, how was the reception then?
Yeah, everybody was pumped and we went out and did our laps on the track, and yeah, we felt like the All Blacks.
No, fair enough. Mark, just going back to you for a sec as well, you know, you did the whole season in 1992 with that same team, Auckland, Rotorua, Baypark and Palmy.
Yeah.
So I mean, when 93 came around...
When 93 came around, Fritter left, the Busters, and Craig Pearce, because Craig Pearce and I were so successful at the New Zealand Champs the year before, they decided to give us a shot, so they dropped my brother and Pearce and I started. We had a team race at Rotorua, and Lyle Rumney wound me off the end and I smashed my knee, so that was out. I was out for the rest of the season, and that's how Craig Taylor got into the team. He took my place.
Right.
And,
Purely for injury that it all turned out that way?
Yep, and then it was good because Craig Taylor had a lot of experience too, and I think that really supported them.
Oh yeah, good car too.
Yeah, well, the great thing about everyone on the team, they could swap roles and it could confuse the other drivers, and the colours were bad enough, but now everyone's adopted it and it's been the success of the team's champs.
Nice. Rodney, you made the jump over to Superstocks around 95, 96 there, and as you were then contracted to Kihi and the Mount. You, Mark and Dutchie and Dave all got to teams race together. What are your earliest memories from that?
Yeah, the Baypark track had just closed actually, so we were homeless pretty much. So most of the Baypark club then went and contracted to Kiki, was the deal then. And that was, I just started stock cars that year, and we, I don't know, put together a team. It seemed a bit of a makeshift kind of team that we put in, and I can't remember who there was, Roy Gard and
Andy Gudgeon came in later because David blew an engine. Did you come in that year?
no.
Yeah.
But anyway, we put this team together, and we took on, it was an invitation with Gladiators from Stratford, and they were the team at the time, Produski and whoever else was the names in that team at the time. And we went out and annihilated them. It was just awesome. It was pretty amazing, and just I don't think there's any of their cars left going, and pretty cool race. So that was kind of first introduction to teams racing, and we went on and did a couple more with Auckland or something. We went up there and one up there, and yeah, we was starting to kind of.
We had Craig Taylor's brother, Stewie Taylor, was our coach, manager at the time, and he really guided us through a lot of years there.
Yeah, he was good.
He had some good knowledge to pass on, and as we all have down through the chain.
So you boys all kind of spread out after that, and you take a little bit of pride at that time that you were the last Baypark Buster team off the era. Pretty hard times,
Yep.
Would have been quite a hard thing. I mean, Baypark is such a wicked track, summertime spot.
Like we said, I went to Huntley, Rodney went to Rotorua, Kerry went to Huntley.
I went to Rotorua as well.
We all went to Rotorua and then we jumped over to Huntley. And then, we were talking before, we've all actually raced for the Rotorua Rebels.
So Kerry, you got your start, 1997 Teams Champs, and that's the start of a massive 20-year career at Palmerston North Teams Champs. That was with the Hawke's Bay Hawkeyes. How did that come to be?
When Rotorua was doing the North Island Team Classic, that was a January event, and I jumped into a team with Jason Redinger, Steve Jude, and Mark Sutton. There was only actually 4 of us. It was we called ourselves just the North Island Invitation Team. We jumped in the Rotorua, and we ended up beating the Gladiators, which didn't go down too well. And then we lost in the final to the Rebels, and that was January '97. And then obviously I must have showed a bit of something. So Hawke's Bay gave me a yell and said, "Do you want to jump in a team there?" And it sort of, that's where it started. So
The first move was clutching it and putting Darren Graham backwards.
Yeah, that was good. That was his old car versus his new car.
Nice.
I've got a photo of that somewhere.
Yeah, wicked. That's the one. And then you had some good years with the Waikato Wanderers after that. Obviously got the team race with Mark a few times and that.
Yep.
So good times over there, Dave.
Yep. Yeah. When you did all that and learn a lot with them, with Bomber Britain and all that stuff, and then we used to do the Nelson, go down to Nelson as well and do that down there. And
you had some fun in Nelson, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a lot of good times down there. Cleaned up the Tigers when they were going for, I think they were going for their 20th win on the trot.
Is that right?
And we killed that. So it was good.
Hurricanes got some good memories of that, didn't they?
Yeah.
That year we went to Nelson. We a lot of people had a problem with Trevor Mason coming in, and we thought that Tony Wooten and Trevor Mason together was a bad mix. So I had to go to because I was the manager then, and we had a big meeting with the committee, and they just said, "Mark, you pick the team, you take them down there." We went against the Tigers, and all of them, we went to the club rooms afterward, and they were all in hospital.
Is that right?
Yeah. Not one Tigers car finished the race. They had their reserve car came out and they're all in, and Trevor Mason put him up the wall, and then they had to take him to hospital. So we took over the Nelson Tigers club rooms that night, and we had a lot of fans
And
there.
that's some of the hard teams races around that time too.
Boy, Dickie.
Is that true here?
Yeah.
We did 5.5 laps to finish that race with the Tigers. We did 5.5 laps with no opposition. I cleaned out Brendan Higgins twice. The second time I put him up on the wire fence, knocked him out. And for all different reasons, Dave Hewitt was off. Moyer and Pedersen, they all had their injuries. And I think Higgins was the last one to go after I put him up on the fence, and then I think it was Sean Wade. Just where the rest of us just stopped, I think, and we just let Sean do the laps, and then we were across the line. So it was a good night.
Would have been their nightmare meeting.
It was.
Yeah.
Representing Waikato, that's a pretty big deal. You know, some of the most passionate fans in the game. You always enjoy putting on a show for them.
Yeah, definitely a different sporting crew, trust me. Yeah.
Rodney, you went to the Rotorua Rebels when it all finished with Baypark there, and had some good years with Barry Hunter and Westbury and all that. Unfortunately couldn't quite bag the big one. But what are some of your fond memories of teams racing for the Rebels at the time?
Yeah, I reckon some of those years were probably our hardest years of teams racing. Our finals were just
Were you always up against the Wildcats?
Yeah, it's pretty much always be us against Wellington somewhere come final time, and some really good battles. We were second and third and never quite won it with the Rebels. But had some good capable drivers in those teams, and we had some good times, and hard fought teams races, because you seem to have these teams where if you're quite a good strong team, when you're up against another strong team, it's just the guns come out and it's all on. So yeah.
And it seemed like a lot of luck, like you say. There was, I mean, both teams were just so capable of it at the time, and it just seems Wellington had the rubber to green for a lot of that.
Yeah, and racing's like that. So sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. So it's just part and parcel of the course.
You've all been able to share the track with the legend Barry Hunter. You got any stories about the man himself?
You will, 93, 94, Barry Hunter, myself, Royd and Colin with Greg Johnson and Paul Demensa put a North Island Select team together, and we beat the Busters in the series.
Good on you, Mark. You're the boy, Dickie. You're the boy, Dickie.
I've also been on the other side of the Busters and beat
You're the boy, Dickie.
But also saying that Barry Hunter would put his car on the line no matter what. And I remember when I was running for Waikato, Barry actually came head on to me on the start finish line for the checkered flag, and I just hit him full noise and pumped him out of the way, and he just took it in a stride and he was out. That was the last race we won that one. Just Barry would do anything.
You know, down south, you go down below Taupo and it's all Evans and Myers, but back in our day, Barry Hunter would have to be the king of Superstocks.
Right, he's probably one of the biggest heroes and villains.
Well, he could hop into anybody's car and just turn a standard stock into a Superstock, and he could just pedal it.
Sing a mean song on the microphone.
Yeah.
Good
Elvis.
Used to call it karaoke back in the day, but I think certainly around Rotorua he had the most respect. He was definitely a good driver in his day, and so did all of his rallies. All went on to be pretty good drivers.
Not trying to be PC here, but he was one of the cleverest Marys on the track.
No, he certainly is a legend. I'm glad we brought him up. We all know he's doing it tough at the moment, and to me, he's probably my biggest hero in the sport, full stop. So that's wicked. Moving on, the Busters came to be. There was the Baypark Bulldogs back 2001. That was a bit of a makeshift team there with the Westbury's and the Mohies and all that. But how did the Busters come back? I mean, there was the big new stadium that was built. He was all contracted back home. So was the Busters always part of the plan?
Yes. The year before, and I will say this because Kyle Fraser was actually in the second team for the Rebels, and one night I think it was at their prize giving, and I just started to meet Kyle, started to get on with him, he's mouthy, and
Well, that hasn't changed.
no, and
I didn't think you had anything to do with it.
and Kyle actually wanted to be in the Rebels, and Stacey, his brother, and Kyle got really liquored that night, and about 4 weeks after the prize giving, there was no way that they were going back to the Rebels, and like I say, I've always watched Kyle, and I knew he'd be an awesome blocker. I believe somebody from the Rotorua team told them that, Kyle, you'll never be in the Rotorua Rebels. So when I heard that, I got on the phone and pretty much got Kyle straight over here to Baypark.
So you're Dickie's protege.
Shit, I don't know any of that story. I didn't even know that Dickie had a phone.
Yes, I did. I borrowed the old man.
Kyle, have you met Mark?
That's how.
That is a cool story, and Cole, we'll dive back into that because for the you started with the Bay of Plenty Raiders and put on a bit of a show, like we talked about, 6 races, and you were straight in the deep end, nearly putting the Bay of Plenty Raiders through to the finals, and then you did the whole Rookie Rebels thing with Osborne and Gary Hunter and Russell and that, and you went on to beat the defending champions.
Yeah, it was sort of I don't know, I suppose it was just a makeshift team. That was when Rodney and that had Barry Hunter had the tattoo team, which was the biggest thing out really probably since the Dream Team originally from Baypark, and so we were just a whole bunch of 20-year-old kids really that wanted to go to Teams Champs, and they were real good. Rotorua put us together. We were the Rookie Rebels, so we had nothing to prove to be a secondary team. We were just a bunch of kids that wanted to go down there, and we ended up coming up against Nelson, defending champs, and beat them, which was
Opening race of the night.
Yeah, I think it was a big upset really, and we were just a bunch of young fella mates that drank a bit of beer, and I think actually Barry Hunter might have been our team manager, and him and Stan Hickey, I think, sort of gave us a few pointers, and yeah, I think it was pretty good.
You got to race with a childhood mate of yours as well, Darren Mason.
Yeah. Well, me, Daryl, and Mark Osborne all went to school together, and pretty good mates, still good mates now. So yeah, it was sort of, it was just a bunch of young fellas really that jammed together and went down to have some fun. So.
Nice. Those rookie rebels ended up being a bit of a thorn in the side for you. The very next year in 2002, they will put you over, Rodney.
I can't remember.
Well, you remember Kerry, you got boned as well.
I don't remember that.
I think we did actually beat them though, just quietly. Yeah, we got 30.
Can't remember.
No, they fluffed it against the Wanderers and that's how you got through.
Is it?
Oh,
I can remember
Really nice.
a couple of years before these two guys came on, and we had probably me and Kerry as good solid runners, and the other members that would come and go were probably not 100% committed, and for teams race you've got to be 100% committed. And then it wasn't until these two guys here joined that we kind of put together a culture of we're all or nothing, 100% committed.
I was there at the start. You probably just didn't notice me, I was doing all the hard work while you were getting the flags and that, but
I think you're still holding up the bar somewhere.
yeah,
That first Busters team that came back was yourself, Rodney, Kerry, Mark Thompson and Keith McCabe.
and me, yeah, that's right, yeah. Thank you.
Who was that team?
What were you doing?
I was driving a column change holder.
I think he was still gelling his hair.
When you had selling cars out the back or something?
I was a hairdresser then.
So that was a pretty big welcome back into the sport too. Unfortunately, we went down to the Panthers in that semi. It was a hard-fought semi. I think Mark Thompson got broken ribs or something along those lines and went down scrapping, but came back stronger next year. Horse at the New Zealand Champs in 2003. Rodney was having a bit of bad luck at that New Zealand and did the good clubmate thing. Tried to help Rodney home, collect those points. And I mean that was wicked to see. So I mean, what was in your mindset at the time? You just know Rodney was the big dog around Baypark and just do whatever it takes to be clubmate.
Yeah, I think something had happened to me. I can't really remember, but and I pulled off and I was way out. I was right out of it. And then I saw Rodney had stopped over by the pit gate or something, so I tried to spin out and pushed him around, got him across the line. Because you never know, get points, you know. And it was sort of I think there were other problems after that anyway, but yeah, it's just something.
Tony Malchus.
Just something I done, you know. It was all good.
Nice.
I'd actually blown the rear end, blew the diff out of it, and I'd done a whole lap with the cars just pushing me around, and then there was nobody left to push me, and so I just coasted to a stop, and then horse come along and pushed me to the finish, so it did give me points.
Well, what does that mean? So a driver like yourself, a clubmate does that kind of thing. I mean.
Yeah, I think that was about the beginning of when we really started to get a team that gelled and looked after each other and were there for each other and at the other titles as well as our teams racing, So there was culture we were starting to build there that was getting strong.
So Todd and Pollock were back on board, the Busters were back in their colours, and we had that opening race against Stratford, that team's champs. New attitude to go with the bodies and everything like that.
Yeah, well, with that, I guess I've been pushing hard that we are 100% committed, and we leave our cars on the track. We don't go onto the grass and seek sanctuary. And if your car's a little wounded, you don't just go park it on the grass. You stay on the track somewhere. And we were doing this team's race. Me and Kerry were runners. These two guys were blockers, Kyle and Horse, and Kerry got taken out somewhere along the way, and then my car was starting to get broken, and then in the end the engine wouldn't go, and all I had was a starter motor. And so I remembered what I'd enforced to these guys, that all you do is you stay on the track and try and suck somebody into you. And was it Brendan Rollins was the lead car at the time of the Scrappers, and he come down, and all I had was a starter motor, just wind it over, make the car move a little bit to make him think that I'm going to have a go at him, and then he just come in and bombed me, and he was full noise in the side of it, and revving the nuts out of this thing, and I was giving him a friendly little wave as he's doing this. And he blew his engine up doing that, and then, from that, Kyle was our blocker, and he was 6 laps down, and had to start doing laps because he hadn't been doing any laps, and all our runners were gone. Their runners were now gone. Cole had to start doing laps and won the race, you know, with probably 5 or 6 laps trotting around on his own.
Nice. Of course, was it a no-brainer for you at the time? You sort of see that Kerry and Rodney had been crippled a bit. You just whack it into gear and go.
Yeah, well, that was when I just started, and yeah.
Was that your first ever team race?
I'd done Auckland with these guys originally the year before, but I was just a reserve and stuff. But that was my first teams race with Palmy teams, and me and Kyle were just sort of in block roles, what we were told to do. And then I sort of realised that Kerry and Rodney were out, so I sort of got going again. And then I remember Gary Wellington was sitting down that far end for about 3 laps. And I was keeping an eye on him as I was going past. After the 3rd lap, I thought, oh yeah, he's out. And then, because he drove out in front of me, so I got the only to get stuck on top of him. And I was just lucky that the little mate here got going, and he just cruised around there waving to me on the way past. I'd done 6 laps and won it or something, and we haven't had the end of it since.
The funny thing is, we've obviously played the video earlier on, and but these guys all having Alzheimer's, none of them actually knew that I won that race anyway. So it's good that they got a friendly reminder, because it made Rodney look like he actually knew what he was talking about right then. So I just sat back and took it. Really, thank you.
Well done on your first win, Cole.
Yeah, that was the first of many,
Hey, you get too lucky, I'll kick these blocks out.
Yeah, kick his blocks under him.
That semi-final against Palmerston North was some redemption there. Kerry, you were flying in that race, and you had, Rodney, you unfortunately got tipped up early there with the wet track and being caught out with that, and it was up to the 3 boys here. So that was a wicked race. You had a good lineup with Barry Kajewski and Calvin Gray, Bengston, and whoever else was in there, Peter Rees. And you guys were merciless in your defence of Kerry. You smoked up Calvin Gray in that pit bend there, and
It's quite funny because I'll never forget it, and I've had him on about it a couple of times after that race. We all got out, we were all buzzing, we'd won I think it was the final, Sydney, wasn't it? Whatever it was.
7, yeah.
And he actually clean ignored me and didn't shake my hand. And I thought, fuck, what's up with that? It was just sort of, a couple of years later we actually talked about it, and he says, oh, you got me off the grass and all this, and I just thought, oh yeah. After that I just thought, well, Calvin Gray doesn't mean much to me anymore, He just clean ignored shaking my hand, and we just smoked them, so I just thought, oh well, we got the flag.
Yeah, we got the W.
We did smoke it a year later, and then Rodney invited him to our afternoon, but he didn't turn up to that either, I don't think.
well, that was massive, Kerry. Putting the Baypark Busters back into the finals after all those years out of the game, not having a team, and then losing in the semi the year before. For you to take the boys into that final, was that just a massive occasion for you?
Oh, it was huge. Like
It was wicked.
it was wicked. That's all I can say, really. No, it was good. Obviously, we were talking earlier, like 03. I had a couple of blinder races, and Rodney was getting picked on, and then obviously the year later things changed. But 03 I just had an awesome run. Kyle and Horse just blocking was superb. And Turk over here, Tony Mel, just sitting on the infield, ready and waiting. But these guys did an awesome job, and we worked together tactical in that semi-final against Palmy. I think we were 5 laps ahead come drop of the flag, and if you ever watch the video, you can see me slowing down and waiting for the blockers to come through. It's like we had time and penny.
Kerry still watches that video most Wednesdays.
Rub it up.
It's twice this week because I just watched it before.
It's the last race he won.
It was an awesome event, and then say 04, we continued the same thing.
Nice. You did go through to the finals in that 03, and that was basically a suicidal race against Hawke's Bay. It was just do or die. You did the big pull out on Demands coming around.
Yeah, so I remember we were in the pits, and I think it was Steve Richards, Clark Proctor and Rex Pollock came down to the pits, and they said, just, I don't care what you guys do, you do whatever you need to do to win this race, don't worry about damaging your cars. And I sort of thought, oh yeah, because I had no money. And I pulled out in front of Paul Demancer, and it actually smashed my engine, and I was I'd been saving 4 years to buy it. So and I pulled into the infield and I thought, no, I can't sit here. So I ended up starting up and I just drove for the rest of that race with no oil pressure. And the motor, yeah, at the end of it, my motor was history, but we won the team champs. And as far as I know, somebody paid the bill. I didn't. I didn't pay the bill, so I don't know if these guys know that yet. So yeah, it was just like Rodney said. It was just with those 2 years, it was just do or die. You just destroyed your cars. We used to get home on a Sunday, me and Dad, we look at the car and think, fuck, now I'm going to but that's what you do. It was awesome.
And what about your
Rodney
car?
and Kerry used to get home though and say, phew, we need a can of touch-up paint this week. You know, Kerry would look at his and think, oh, well, I don't need to wash it for next week. Rodney tipped himself over the head to sort of...
Your car was ripped to shreds after that final as well.
Yeah, no, mine and horses were always damaged, but Rodney and Kerry used to, you know, keep it level. But we actually, as a team, you know, one of the early things we did was we always paid on damages, you know. Rodney would get $30, Kerry would get the other 50, and horse and I'd get $3 or $4 grand each to fix that car and 3 weeks worth of work, you know. But no, that's one thing we always did well as a team was, you know, we went out there as a team to win, and yeah, we won at all costs, but we also, you know, paid the damages accordingly, which I think was probably the new thing coming through. You know, I think that's what most teams do now. You know, which has got to be a good thing.
Must have picked it up from the old team because we did that to start.
That's where we implement.
Cover the
Back
damage so
then,
everybody
you
can
just
swap
buy a whole
roles.
car for $1,000 and be back out there.
Oh yeah, that was cheaper then. Go to the Reekers and we could race.
So to go back to back and be the first team to do that since the Panthers era of the late 80s, early 90s and the Scrappers before then. So take a lot of pride in all that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it was wicked. It was wicked. No, that 03 one was huge, and then we just continued that through. We had a few build-up races. We were doing a tri-series with and Rotary through all those 03, 04. So yeah, we managed to keep the wins going and keep the same bunch of guys, and yeah, and then we went to Palmy and cleaned up again. It was pretty cool.
Nice one. And just before we stop for a glorious feed that's just been brought in here, to end that golden run, that was 27 consecutive teams victories in general. I mean, that's a record that it's just set the bar to almost untouchable. I mean, that's massive.
The funny thing was, I remember, you know, Rodney and I and Kerry getting a hold of horse to come teams race for us, and so he agreed to come teams racing, and he just won every race, you know, 27 teams races obviously, and you know, I remember 2005 we got third or something, but we lost the semi-final, and I remember coming in and seeing the horse, and I think he looked like he'd seen a ghost, you know. He'd never actually lost a teams race. He started teams racing and just won all of them, and just, you know, after you finish your teams race, you went round with the checkered flag and then back in the pits, and this time we got kicked off. You know, I think we lost, and
Losing was a bit stinker, right?
It wasn't through lack of trying. I mean, it was just one of those runs. Kevin Roberts just got away and kept finding himself getting off the wall and all that sort of thing.
We actually did have that race sewn up. Me and Colin destroyed ourselves blocking for a dicky, and then he decided to hit apart the car. And it was a standard stop.
I don't think he was hard. We've changed the term to stationary.
He saw the white flag, though, he just didn't see the checkered. So that was the end of our 27 races.
That was in the Teki racing with us, really.
Forced retirement.
It was quite funny that race because I was up on the wall. I had Kevin Roberts underneath me, and he was going through his gears like he does, and he blew his motor up on top of me. And then I got out of my car, and I was, like, because it was the first one we'd lost, I got out of my car and I was walking away, and we were in the pits, and next thing Dad drives into my car, and we were all sort of looking at him, and he just wandered out after the race, jumped in, started up, backed it out, drove it back into the pits. It was quite funny, actually.
Right, so back to part 2 of this Baypark Busters special. Dutchie's having the time of his life over there. A few drinks deep.
Keep it up with the young fellas. For another 5 minutes.
Rodney, you retired from the Superstock ranks after a few last results that you had there. Went to the sprint car class. So what brought that about?
Soft.
Don't you give me to put your hat back on, please?
Put my brain back on.
Yeah, I don't know, we just was looking for a new challenge, got to a point where you just sort of got tired of doing the same old, and it was one of my sponsors actually, Colin Reddish, the man we call the Chicken Man, and he'd said to me, you know, you keep going out in these titles and you got a target on your back before you even start the first race.
You take over mine.
Yeah, and so he sort of said, why don't you go to sprint cars, that if you know your talent's there and you can race, if you're the fastest car on the night you'll win. So we just thought, well yeah, the World Outlaws came to Baypark that year and that was an impressive show and enjoyed that and thought, well, I'll give this a try.
So a few seasons into it, up against some big guns of the sport, big names, you ended up getting that 1NZ.
Yeah, got the 1NZ at Cromwell that first time round, and that was actually a couple of the American professional guys that we beat. They were second and third, so that was probably a pretty sweet victory to have.
Is it quite surreal, just knowing what you've done in the sport and then to go into the highest horsepower class out there and do the business against those Americans?
Yeah, you know, they were adrenaline buzz to race those things, so they're lots of fun, and yeah, had some good years in the sprint car for sure.
Nice, and you did get that 2 times, didn't you?
Yeah, New Zealand's twice and North Island's twice, so fair and alright so far.
You thought about any other classes along the way and try and get that, will be the first driver to win 1NZ in 3 different classes?
What production saloons are there?
Here we go,
Anybody got a car?
Too old for
That's
penny
my man,
stocks.
he's gone.
Have I got the car for you?
Maybe when I get too old for sprint cars or something, we'll look at something else. And, you
Next
know.
season?
The Honda VTECs are quite good, 1600. Front drive.
Kerry, talk to us about the Busters reforming back in 2013, I believe it was. You'd obviously done a few teams champs back with the Waikato Wanderers and also the Kihikiki Kings as well, keeping those appearances up. So what brought the Busters about?
Was actually probably the likes of Cole here, and I think Horse was a little bit involved with it. There was a few dramas going on with Rotorua, and at the time I was actually registered to Auckland, and we just got sort of talking behind the scenes, and yeah, we just sort of had a bit of a laugh about putting the Busters back together, and we talked a bit more about it, and yeah, we sort of shopped around. There was a few sponsors keen, and we thought, stuff it, we'll do it. And at the time, a couple of these boys were registered with Rotorua, so it sort of stirred a few things up, but no, we made it happen, and it just went from there.
So yeah, like you said, Kyle, there was a bit going on early on in the season there. How was the, I guess, fallout with Rotorua at the time?
Oh, it wasn't really a fallout.
I'll be honest, Kyle.
They just kicked me out of the team probably. No, they just, I don't know, they would have gone down a different path, and I wasn't in the team, so I sort of said I'd go and teams race with someone else.
So with the momentum building, how was the buzz within Baypark Speedway itself and getting sponsors on board with Rex and all that?
Oh, it was pretty easy actually. I think there was just a heap of people actually. Mark Dickey was probably a big format in that. He and Horse wanted to get it back together, and you know, it was sort of like putting our boys back together. Rodney was keen to coach us, which was always good. So you know, it was, I don't know, I suppose it didn't really take that much really. I think we had 1 or 2 meetings, and we were back into it. We ended up having more sponsors, and we probably knew what to do with straight at the start.
How did David Ellsworth come about?
Oh, David was a young dude that was obviously good mates of mine in racing, and he was keen to go teams racing. I think his dad had teams race for Baypark in that really early year. I think Ian was pretty keen to get him on board, and so yeah, he jumped at the chance. Probably a good thing. He's got a title to his name, you know, which was fortunate.
And he had done a couple of seasons before that as well, and Baypark was the opportunity to step up into the ranks.
Yeah. I suppose, yeah. I mean, we still registered to Rotorua, we still raced every week at Rotorua. You know, some of them sort of probably took it a little bit to heart, but really at the end of the day, it was just forming another team. You know, teams racing, and individual stuff's individual. So obviously we ended up having to get forced out the following year to teams to register to Baypark, but obviously they didn't have us as a class on their books back then.
Of course, yourself, like they were saying, you're a big part of wanting to get that team back together. You've done a lot for the Rotorua Rebels over those years, but to be back in the Orange was massive.
Yeah, I'd done probably 4 or 5 seasons with the Rebels, and it just wasn't really the same. The club wasn't right behind it like sort of the mate guys were, and we had good times with the Rebels, but I was actually going to knock on a teams race that season, and then it just all started to form. Kyle wasn't in the Rebels, Kerry was off doing his thing, I wasn't teams racing at that stage, and then we sort of thought, oh well, let's get back together and do our thing, and then within about 3 weeks out from the team shifts, we had it all organised, had our cars all painted up, had sponsors, we were right into it.
Yep.
We couldn't find anyone else, so we got Mark Dickey.
Yeah. They left that to horse to ring me. Like I with a big mouth couldn't. Kerry wouldn't talk to me, but then horse rings me out and tells me to get a car.
Mark actually had a beer sponsor, and I think that's the problem.
Yeah. So I fished around and I thought, well, do I really want to do this? And I rang up my old mate Grant Mitten, who of course had that Ford SVO sitting in his shed. And I thought, well, that's a good engine. That's a fast car. Tony Wheaton had driven it, and he'd raced it well with the Kings when that car was going. And I just inherited a hole, really. When we got over there to look at it, I just couldn't believe the state of that car. But I had a good crew around me. We rebuilt it. We built some of the engine, and I've been rebuilding that fucking engine every year. Yeah, just as well as there was money in scrap.
It took a little bit to find your feet again. You came up against the kids of today, the Ashereezes and all that were part of the Manawatu Mustangs. Come crashing back to earth with that, or was it just a matter of these young kids doing their thing today? There's just no fear and just going.
Actually, that first team race we had in Palmerston North, and we went through that first night highest on points, and like we discussed before, when Palmerston come back, they were racing against a weak team, and it's like they go around paying them money or something. We did qualify highest, and then of course, if everybody remembered, they wanted to have a runoff, and there was this big thing going around the pits that, are we going to have a runoff? And it's like, well, no, we won our races truly, and okay, the Panthers come out after their first loss and cleans out another team, and they don't win. So they asked us for a runoff. And we rejected it because we felt,
Earned it.
Yeah, you can get more damage in a runoff for that point system than you would in a team race. So we rejected that, and of course then we had to take second place.
We should have had a runoff though, would have been quite good. Thinking back.
Thinking back now, but at the time, we were all had good cars, and all good. So.
Yep, I believe you went and actually dealt with the Panthers at the Nationals that year. And
we won. We cleaned them up the first night, but we were fixing our cars the next day. I remember Scotty Myers turned up and he said, "You're not going to win again tonight," and he was actually right. He did beat us. Yeah, we raced real good that first night at the Auckland team nats, but second night we sort of fell off a little bit. But Auckland team nationals is a lot harder than Palmy.
For sure. Do you think, racing the likes of those Mustangs and the Panthers and all that sort of thing got you guys back to where you needed to be?
Oh, I think the Mustang team, over the years has probably certainly not been the second Palmerston team. Some years I think they were probably stronger. They had good team camaraderie over the years and that sort of thing. So, Palmerston's always been the pinnacle of teams racing. They're pretty passionate supporters down there as well. So, I suppose every team's got their hard merits.
Something to prove makes a big difference.
Yep, that's right. 2014 came along and things were a little different this year. You topped your group there, I believe, as well, going over Stratford and Auckland. And you had the big semi-final versus Hawke's Bay. Mark, you weren't in the team that year?
No, I decided they'll never won it with me in it, so I thought
And it didn't work too bad.
So I thought, I'll get my next best mate. So I got Tony Wooten on board, and Tony Wooten says, yeah, you'd love to come to be a part of the Busters. Once again, Tony's been teams racing for many years. never managed to pull off that Palmerston one, and he knew these guys, and we decided we'd take him on, and he really enjoyed it. So we took Tony on board, and he really enjoyed it.
Cole, you had your second ever race win in that semi-final against the Hawkeyes there. You remember much about that?
Oh, I don't think that was my second ever race win, but anyway, we'll catch you later. What was that, the semi-final?
Yeah, against the Hawkeyes.
That's when I took out Steve Jude and you got the flag on it.
Well,
You never thanked me for that.
I actually didn't realise that at the time, but I always knew Horse was always struggle with his right hand a little bit to carry the flag, so I think he just sort of did all the dirty work and handed it over. But I think that was a pretty good race actually. Now that I think about it, I probably inherited that a little bit. I think David Ellsworth actually took out Steve Jude right on that last lap, and it was a good close race, and they were some pretty fierce competitors.
Because you've done the whole pre-season thing with the Hawkeyes for a few years as well.
Yeah,
Got a bunch of boys over there.
and they had beaten us both at
I don't talk about
Baypark
that, mate.
and
That's
Hawke's
not
Bay. And Rodney and I, we had our meeting and decided, what team do we put out. And prior to that, Kerry's car wasn't going, so Tony Wooten and Dave Ellsworth and Horse and Kyle. So we decided, well, we've lost twice to Hawke's Bay now. So Rodney and I really thought about it. Well, it's their revenge, and it is the Palmerston. It's under the big crowd. So that's the race that we stood Kerry out for those guys to basically go back and redeem themselves. Basically, that's what Rodney and I came up with.
Cool, that's cool to know.
And it certainly worked. They won against Hawke's Bay.
Okay. Kerry, the roles were reversed a little bit from the earlier part of your career where you were one of the main runners for the Busters, and this time around you were one of the menaces on the track just trying to hold up a few drivers. So how was that from your point of view?
Well, it's all part of the sport, if you want to be good at what you do, you've got to be able to cover all bases. Obviously early on in my career I had some good fast gear. With that hot rod from hell we had some serious pace on, and we could leap off the line and get ahead most of the time, but sort of later on as I was paying the bills I was a bit slower, so naturally I just put my hand up. Now Bill did the blocking, and I think I did alright for a while there, and we should come up in the future, we'll be back on the pace again, so the roles might change. We'll see what happens.
That's what we like to hear.
And we also Kyle made it very clear to us that year that he was fast. And he made that very clear, Roddy, I am fast and I can run now. I don't take it up the bum all the time.
So you could have won one NZ in Miami, that's what you're saying, but you had
Backed it up,
other
though.
ideas.
Yeah, backed it up.
Back it up, alright.
He backed it up, definitely backed it up.
Oh, you guys praise me, eh? It was good seeing Kerry actually change and jump to a blocking role, and
We do the same.
I think we all say it's one good thing that the team was always about was, everyone's got to have a turn at doing their roles, and back then, God, I couldn't even win a raffle, let alone a race, so that's why me and Horse were as our block cars, but obviously times changed over the years to come, and everyone sort of changes and goes with whatever the race plan is, and I think Dickie actually did probably his best job that year. Not that he was racing, but he was our manager and organiser, and him and Rodney were always coming up with the plans, and they were a bit hardened a few times there. I think they tried to sit me out of a race. Actually, Rodney did on the Saturday. We had a team meeting, and I'll never forget it, and he said to me that he was going to sit me out of the race, which I wasn't really that happy about.
That was just to make you angry though.
Yeah, it made me really angry actually. I was probably the most pissed off I've ever been, and I don't think Rodney really liked it and put me on the team anyway. So.
No, we'll back the track up a little. Yeah. The night before, this is the first round, the qualifying. We'd been going okay, but Kyle had just not been quite Kyle, and just, I don't know.
Pushing cars.
Yeah, he pushed a car around for a whole lap just on his tail, and that was one of my rules you just don't do. You just don't just push a car.
Doing a run, mate.
Get some angle and you get rid of him.
Shit your hand on me.
So anyway, and just Kyle, I don't know whether he didn't have it on the line, he was quite committed that first night, so the tactic was to kind of wind him up a little bit and get some mongrel back in him, and so the suggestion was to sit him out. And man, you should have seen Cole's face, eh? He was, and then his chest got a bit bigger, and then he got 2 inches taller, and he got fired up absolutely good.
Rodney didn't want to fight off the track, so that's fair enough.
So anyway, he fumed it pretty much that whole Saturday or whatever it was, the day of the finals, and about an hour or so before going out, I said, I think Kyle, I will put you out. And we did put him in the team. He did a phenomenal job and used his front bumper and got the boys home for a... Did you win that?
Would have been a fluke if I did.
You had somebody anyway, so...
You won't, because I took it.
And that night before, because there was a lot of protesting going on that year, and I never actually walked out of the meeting that night till about 1:30 in the morning. We were still in the shed that year.
Mark wasn't in the bar either.
Don't worry, we had to listen to Scotty Myers, so that takes a long time. So we were in there for... So I didn't get out of that meeting till 1:30. And Kerry was still there, managed to give me a ride back to the motel. So as soon as I got back to the motel, I actually rang Rodney at 1:30 in the morning, and we were on the phone for an hour basically analysing how that night went, that first night, and that's when Rodney and I came up with the tactic to do what we did to Kyle. Like Rodney said, it certainly worked.
Got the mongrel back in him.
Yeah, we got the mongrel back.
Nice. There was a pretty fired up Wanganui team as well that you had to come up against. They've been bridesmaids as far as team champs goes, and the legend Kerry Pajewski was wanting his little bit at the title there, and young Kyle Hebner was coming through, and he was just absolutely phenomenal. And a couple of other good drivers there, Dion Mooney as well. How did you prep those boys going into that final race?
Same deal as always. You got to take it to them first, and if you can get the first hits, well then you're doing the damage to them rather than you receiving the damage. So that was generally a tactic. I don't know, I guess over our years some people have probably criticised us in the fact that our style has always been fairly similar. But hey, it's worked, so yeah, we'll run with it.
David Ellsworth deserves a lot of credit for his cool head that he showed on his shoulders to bring that title home too.
Yeah, he drove a smart race.
Yeah, I think, Kerry Pajewski is probably one of the most feared teams races, over the years, and a nice guy to go with it. And, I think he had built Horse's tank, and they sort of had something to prove. I think Horse really wanted to give him a hide, and he probably wanted to give Horse a hiding, and they wanted to shake hands afterwards. So it was good. And guys like Dion Mooney, as you say, those guys were amazing blockers that day. So we had our work cut out for us in that race. There was definitely no easy feat. Fortunately, we came with the result.
Yeah, they had a few mechanicals in that one. So, it worked for us. We'll take the win.
Boys showed composure and we came with the win.
And that's right, Ross. I mean, coming up against Kerry must have been pretty massive for you. I don't think you would have done that before, or maybe 2004 actually, but anyhow. You had teams race with him, with the World War III teams race, with the tanks and that kind of thing, so you've done the business then with him, but to come up against him and just basically try and teach an old dog a few new tricks.
Yeah, well, me and Kerry Kerry bought my first tank for me, and he came and worked for me for a while, and we'd sort of become pretty good mates, and I think, Kerry's never won it. I think he probably wanted to win it. That was his chance to win it, and we sort of took it off him, but like you said earlier, I think he sort of stuck with me a bit in that race, which is quite good, because I sort of made things easy for me to keep him under control, because he's a bit of a menace, as everyone knows.
Which surprised me, because I almost thought it was personal. I was sitting there going, Kerry, you're better than this. He was after you.
Yeah, I don't know why, because I was just, like Rodney said, I mean, my role is to do 4 laps, not 12. I was just trying to block and do what I could do. And
Horse did give him a pay cut though, I think.
And so, he spent a lot of time on me, and because Kerry was blocking as well, he spent a lot of time on Kerry, whereas he probably could have been doing a lot more damage doing other things. And then on that final lap, when I actually blocked him and David got past him, he said to me after the race, he says, "Oh fuck, I didn't even see you there." And I said, "Well, They kept following me the whole race, you know, so.
Because Bevan Humphrey was actually only half a lap behind, and it would only take him a little bit to close the ride up too.
My biggest hit in that race was actually when I drilled Cole up the arse after the chicken feed. I just couldn't help myself.
It's a good hit. It's actually our last team's race together.
So emotions are actually running pretty high after that final. There was a lot more to that story than most people know. I guess it's probably common news now, but Rex unfortunately couldn't make the meeting. So you guys did it for him.
Yeah, well, he was like he was well into his cancer by then, sort of thing, and he couldn't make it down there. And I think a couple of the first phone calls were to Rex Pollock. So, and I mean he's been right back to Dutchie's days behind the Busters. So yeah, it was pretty cool to win it for him, all right. And then even at his funeral, you know, we had all our cars, our Busters cars at his funeral and stuff. So it was pretty cool, all right.
No, that's awesome, you guys. And so yeah, with that, you got your, what was it, 4th title there, and that's massive for the region. That's had to rebuild so many times, and you know, with all the heartbreak of not being able to race and Baypark closing and all that kind of thing. So come through a lot of adversity, showed your true colours, and when things didn't work for the Rebels, you still got together and really done it for, you know, what is your team, and that's the Baypark Busters. So with that came the retirements of, teams racing retirements of yourself, Horse and Kyle. So carrying on from that, you took a brand new team to Team Champs the year after?
Yeah, basically my perspective on it was the Busters had always been a Baypark team, Baypark registered cars, and come 2015 there was only really myself, and obviously it wasn't Todd and Pollock then, it was Pollock Cranes, and Pollock Cranes had pulled out of the sponsorship, and I thought, well, hey, it's not Baypark cars, it's only myself and a whole bunch of ringings, so we went with the new colour, obviously to remove ourselves. As soon as you put that Pollock orange on anything, you might as well be called Pollock sponsored anyway, so new colour. Let's go to Brawlers because it's only me, it's not a Baypark team as such, it's just a bunch of ringings. And yeah, we went from there and we actually pulled off a third with an awesome bunch of guys.
Which is pretty cool because all the drivers you got are pretty much just scrappers anyway, drivers that just go out there, leave it all on the track. You might Max and guess Carl Ross and that, so.
Yeah, Dave Tarrant and and Lance Aldridge, yeah, it was good team.
That was extremely unlucky against the Panthers too.
Yeah, no, it was, Dave just needed a few more bloody, I don't know, it was like it just needed a little bit more grunt to get around that last bend, and yeah, Scotty sort of played a little bit of fox there. It was sort of we didn't protest it, but it was a questionable move where he went on the grass. Was he on the grass or off the grass? Anyway, but Jack cleaned out and Dave, and we lost it all in the last corner.
I think that third place for Mike Mack almost rates as good as his team champs win for the Hawkeyes, man. He still puts his fist in the air whenever you talk about the Brawlers.
Yeah, no, I think he learned a lot from there. Like we had Rodney on board, there was still a coach in that, and even like Regan was with us the year after that, but the guys can see where the professionalism comes from with what we do, and I think probably over the years as we've had a few ring-ins and stuff, I think we might have taught a few teams a few things, but yeah, it's what you do, you know, you want to go racing, so unfortunately along the way you share a bit of knowledge, but Mike definitely enjoyed that and probably took quite a bit out of it, I'd say.
If you actually want to go back and see how the Hawkeyes have won the last 2 years, it's just about the same system and style that the Busters have always had.
Different colour though, eh, mate?
Absolutely.
And numbers.
So the future of the Busters, Costello, where's that guy at?
Oh,
Yeah, Costello!
Oh, Costello!
Bring him out!
Bring him up!
Come on, Marcus.
The younger generation can answer
So we got some young blood here and awesome stock car driver in your day, and talk about some of your earlier moments in the stock car class and where you got to today.
Well, I guess it's sort of started back in the mini stock days, back in Rotorua. I was crewing for a young guy called David Norris, and family friends were known as Tubby Norris. His old man he was around Speedway for a long time, and
Yay, Tubby!
unfortunately he passed away, but we carried on, and I must admit, thanks to him, he got us into the sport. We did the mini stock car ordeal, and we had a lot of, ups and downs of mini stocks, and
I've spoken to a hell of a lot of Palmy mini stock drivers, and we can all see where they are today. Being a mini stock driver out of Rotorua, just learning the craft there, same sort of deal.
Yeah, no, it was the same thing, everyone's trying to go fast, and you're going to try and push the boundaries, and the limit, I sort of was in that, the transition stage of contact to non-contact in the mini stock, so it was good fun, but we had a lot of damage thanks to, there was young Chris Allen who was actually getting back into the Superstock sport, and his son was getting, he was the pinnacle of mini stocks back in the day, and we had a lot of fun with him, and but it was all good. Yeah.
So you got into the stock car class, and you had a bit of a rocket ship there. And speaking of Jordan Dare, once upon a time on one of those very, very early smack talks, he called you one of his most respected rivals out on the track. But you had a lot of good fun with all those other young drivers out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was good to take it to the Palmy selection, I guess, back in the under 23 days when it was in the early days. We had a lot of battles with them. Jordan Dare, definitely Jaden Wood, but no, definitely respect was taken on the track, and we'll just leave it there,
Nice one. And to get where you are today, obviously you've teamed up with 4 Series, sort of opened the door a bit.
Yeah, well, I guess when we first got the first opportunity came out, Kyle sowed the seed, I guess, with Horse, and we just, Kyle said, look, Horse is looking for a second driver and with a second tank, and we sort of jumped up, backed the bus up before that, but before that we were like, this is way too expensive to get into, but thanks to Horse and Kyle and stuff, we got into the sport, and from there on we've, I guess we've just grasped the class and carried on, and
Learned how to drink beer. Superstock driver.
but we're looking forward to the future anyway. So
Nice. For you, Horse, did you see a bit in the young fella to bring him up?
No, not really.
I was asking for
He just said he couldn't afford to run a stock car, so I felt sorry for him. You've all seen it. Mark's quick, he knows, he knows the stuff, and I was sort of cold to got it going because I had my other car there, and we sort of thought, we'll get it going, and I said, well, who should we get in? And it was Marcus, so. But really, Mark, since he's got his own car, he's just streaked ahead now. He's probably one of the fastest around the last couple of seasons. Really.
It's the old Asheries beast, isn't it? Yeah.
So now he's just got to keep up the bills, and now he'll be right.
So Mark, you made your debut at Teams 2017. Pretty massive.
yeah, so we put our name forward to the Baypark team. Obviously, we were committed to Ross Ashby Motorsport, and that team was running out of Baypark, so we put our name forward to the team, and it was definitely an eye-opener, that's for sure. We actually, must admit, we took a bit of hiding at first teams meeting of the year was Palmy last year, and we took a bit of a hiding, I must admit. I was
You take a bit of a hiding down there.
I was the lead car, got drilled, but managed to keep going. And
I did tell you don't go around them though.
yeah,
That's why you got a bit of a hiding, Horse.
so I'll be cutting my mirrors a bit bigger next year. Make sure we got good vision. But no, it's all we'll go there and we learn from our mistakes, and all we can.
Did you get a bit of a hiding?
And it was a wicked hiding, mate. But we learn from our mistakes, and we look forward to the legends of the past to
Oh, you're ready to take it up the arse next year?
That's dead right.
So Kerry, what, 20, 21 years now? 20?
21 already.
21, yep. So I mean that's massive. First on all-time appearances and first equal with Hemi there for a number of races that you've competed in. Probably beat him this year because he got stood down or whatever that was.
Oh, he's does some dodgy stuff over here.
Jane was here.
Sorry, Jane.
So I mean, what's the plan for you, man?
Hashtag sorry, Jane.
So you're going to look to stick at it?
Yeah, mate. We've got another car on the go. Got a little horsepower this time, and yeah, we'll be back. And yeah, we'll be 22 years consecutive in February, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Make that big 25, quarter of a century.
Oh, we'll see. Open up your wallet, mate. We'll make it happen.
Hey, you paid me to be here. Hey, Dutchie as well, yourself, you did over 100 teams races for every other track in the upper North Island, and that's a pretty massive milestone back in those days when there wasn't a lot of 2 race qualifying nights and no races on the final nights as well if you didn't qualify, so it probably took a little bit longer to get there, but that said there's a lot more teams events as well, but it's a massive achievement.
Yeah, that was a massive achievement. I had my 100 at Rotorua and I fortunately got my ass kicked. But yeah, we did 104 in the end, and I think Bruce Harding's done the same now. Massive achievement for him as well. And so watching him at Palmerston, and he's a menace on the track, alright, that boy. But yeah, it was great to get there, but I think nowadays there's a lot of fresh blood and they're pumping up the team's races every other week at Palmerston, so I think that might get beaten every day.
No, you're an absolute legend, Dutchie. You got the opportunity to race over at the Brisker World Formula 1 final over there with them boys. You got some stories from over there?
Oh yeah, it's a little bit out
Apparently
of our
there's a good
league.
story from over there.
It's a little bit out of our league. We're over driving when we get over there, but we managed to foot it pretty good with the rest of them. But Jane Bean, she came to New Zealand and we all looked after her, and then she gave me a bit of thrashing over there. So at the last meeting I peeled her out and took her out, and they tried to complain about me doing it, and I said, hey, you fuckers are all standing there watching. And it was a payback. I can't come back to New Zealand with a woman kicking my ass. So hey, I only broke my shoulder blade, but I got it back. But no, it's great running in England, and any driver that wants to, your mind reacts a lot faster, so if you can go over there and race with the big horsepower and come back here, it just makes you a better driver after that.
Sure. Did you get over there, Rodney?
Yeah, I raced there 1 year, and yeah, we had old Smokey. The car we had wasn't that flash. Everybody knew where I was at the time, and they just followed the smoke trail around the
Yeah, they
track.
stack the odds a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't the best of gear, but it was good fun. Yeah, good times.
Yep.
We had one race there. It was a week or two before the world final, and I can't remember where it was. And I was telling these guys, a couple of guys earlier, that clipped this. They had earth-moving tyres on the infield as the pole line. You can't cut the pole line. Hit one of these tyres, and of course it compresses, and then it bounces you back out, and it just bounced back out in front of the traffic, and just got cleaned out by everybody. So, good times.
Cole, you got the opportunity also to go to the UK and try and foot it with them?
Yeah, I raced 2008, obviously went over there. It was pretty good. I think we were there for 5 or 6 weeks or something, and so we raced heaps of meetings, and it was pretty good. And then I went back over there for Rugby World Cup actually, just to watch, and ended up getting roped into driving, so it was quite good. Gave me some extra beer money, but did shit really, got taken out in the final. But first time I went, we raced on tarmac, which was all new, which was quite good. Had a few good results, but nothing anything great. You know, like I say, you don't get the best of gear when you go over there. And the second time I went over there, beat Kerry and Steiny in the first race, and it only just hopped off the plane, so that was probably the highlight. The rest of it was shit.
I think we're back
Oh,
close.
that jet lag helping you.
Yeah, but no, the UK is always good. It's good to see that we've got this cool communication with the UK guys. They're coming over here plenty. actually what I did notice last time I was there, that they're running aluminium shocks and a whole bunch of stuff that they've copied our cars, not so much the other way around. So their cars are going much faster, and they've got a professional gig over there. It'd be good to see how Jordan Dare goes over there this year. Seems like he's doing pretty good so far. So it's always a neat experience. I don't think you can go over there with any expectation. You might be fast here, but you go over and race in their circle, it's the same as them coming over to ours. They don't do that particularly well, other than Frankie, because he's been here for 100 times.
Do you think it's easier for them to come over here and race cup cars, even dealing with the contact, as opposed to you guys going over there and trying to deal with the different
No, I think you'll find, other than Frankie's an exception to the rule because he's a professional driver, but I don't think you'll see that many of them have footed it in New Zealand compared to probably how we've done over there. It's a different style of racing. It's a lot more front bumper contact. That you can't wait for cars, and in New Zealand you could be a mongrel and stop and ruin someone else's race. Over there you kind of can't do that, so that's why it's sort of a little bit different in the racing, but it's pretty well followed over there, I suppose. It's a bit more professional. There's a heap more professional drivers and that sort of thing than what we've got here. So, but it's a pretty neat experience. If anyone that gets the opportunity to go, it's an amazing experience to go and race in another country.
So Kerry, you've been over there twice. You got to do it once with your Buster boys, 3 times back, so this is going to be the 4th time, is it?
Yeah.
Sure. So you should win.
Oh, no one else wanted to go, so...
Short straw.
Yeah, no, they contacted me probably a month and a half ago. The American driver pulled out. Pretty much that's how I got the opportunity in 2015. So I jumped at the opportunity. Pretty much, if you get the invitation, you're silly not to turn it down. It's completely different. It's an eye opener for some. But this year's on Tar Seal, so completely different. I did Tar Seal back in 03. But yeah, we'll give it a crack, and I've got a little horse, and then Tony Mauger's coming with me to support crew. So we'll give it a crack and see what happens.
If you're no good, you could put a horse in there and show you up.
Yeah. Even old Turk probably jumping in. He's itching to get back in,
You're pretty pumped to go and have a look at what the deal is over there, horse?
Yeah, no, it'll be alright. Yeah, I'll go give Kerry a hand, and I haven't been there, so I thought, well, let's go for a look and see what it's like, see what everyone talks about, and yeah, that'd be good.
Nice one. Now, got a question for you, Kyle. Young up-and-coming drivers in the Superstock class today. You've been there, done that, and you're watching all these kids come through today. So, who do you rate as up there in the Superstock division?
Oh, I'd say Mitch Vickery. I think he's got a bit of experience now. His mullet's got a little bit longer. Talks a big game. Talks a real big game. So, I think he'll. If he doesn't win the New Zealand's this year, then I'll probably be wasting my $100 putting the no on the nose. But happy to pay anyone else $100 to take him out as well. So,
Sure, if it's New Hope.
Yeah, well, he'll be older, he'll be 21, we've got his 21st this weekend, so hopefully he can get taken out this weekend as well, his 21st. And, he's thrown me under the bus a few times actually, so I'm happy to throw him under. Actually, probably up and coming drivers, probably not up and coming, but he's here tonight in the crowd. Jaden Ward, I think, actually is, impressed me last year. Watching them, and there's a heap of those young guys coming through the ranks. I think if we could get Mark Costello to stop drinking beer, he'd probably go okay as well.
I'm trying to get Jaden to do the same thing.
I think there's a lot of, Jordan Dare, those guys, there's a whole heap of that sort of mini stock sort of era that are, real smooth drivers. Compared to our day, we never had mini stocks in our day, that wasn't that long ago.
Street stocks there on me.
Yeah, mate.
But these young kids that are coming from mini stocks into super stocks, they're just such smooth drivers. They obviously race with no power for so long, so they,
Straight.
They go a bit silly.
Oh, they do, and they, like when you compare what we've had to go through to get what we've, out racing wise. These guys, they just jumped straight in these. I mean, don't get me wrong, they probably jumped into really good cars as well, with a fair bit of knowledge behind them. But in both stock car and Superstock class. There's some amazing drivers coming through.
And
Nice.
it's not only that, it's the ladies that are coming through in the sport, because we've always had a minority, and nowadays there's just so many females starting to come through.
What ladies are you
It's
looking
been
at?
the best. It's nearly been the best thing since sliced bread.
You've got
Anybody Labour? Is this the gender pay gap?
So,
Gender equality.
Hey, I want decent teeth.
we're just about to wrap up. I'll quickly rattle off. We'll find out what your most respected rivals on the track were for your time. It's always good to know who you know, some of your enemies and hard charges that you enjoyed coming up against. Dutchy, we'll start with you. There's a couple of names that you enjoyed racing amongst.
Barry Brzezinski, we always ran clean and we always outdrove one another, or he outdrove me most of the time, but hey, we had a comradeship and it was brilliant to compete against somebody at that level. And Barry Hunter, he was always a slippery dick.
What about yourself, Rodney?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of them. You know, I think if you name a couple, you probably leave a whole lot out. But you know, in our day, in our teams racing, Tony Mack and those Wellington boys were pretty hard doers, and enjoyed the challenge of, you know, taking them on. So.
Any unfinished business we would see you strap on?
Oh, the list would be about this long.
What about yourself, Horse?
Oh, I always thought a bit of Rodney, you know, like he was always, when I was sort of struggling on that, he was right up in the game, you know. I used to always sort of think, you know, he was pretty good, but like anyone that gets out in a super stock or a stock car, you know, like it's not an easy game. It's big hits and stuff that go on out there, so really anybody that wants to line up on the grid and spend the money and do the damage is a rival to me, you know.
I had a look at Bobby Pearce's interview last night, the American Super Saloon driver, and he was questioned about it, you know, just strap in and do this kind of thing and just outright, you know, they're just another breed, just absolutely another breed.
No, yeah, I mean, Superstocks, yeah, it's, and I mean, I watch it now and I've commented tonight, I watched the team champs this year and you likes of Jaden and Jack Myers and all those guys coming through, and some of those hits out there now are pretty brutal. And I'm like, fuck, I'm glad I'm managing on the infield, you know. It's, and it's like, it's a pretty radical class.
So it doesn't sound anything in the world.
For anyone to get out, strap into Superstock and get out there and do it is you know, they're all.
Do you guys feel at times that the sport actually deserves more? It's so unique in its own, and it really is as professional as it can possibly be. Sometimes you'd wish that governing body itself was along the same lines, but you know, do you guys feel that, you know, what just
Well, you watch like you watch that Sunday sport, CRC sport or whatever it is, and you watch fucking four-wheel drive workouts driving around Pukekohe and shit. And you know what we do is way more harder and competitive and the following than those things get. And I mean, Speedway in New Zealand don't get nothing.
It's like
You know,
the
look at sprint cars
Americans.
around the world.
It's like the Americans said when they come over and watched Baypark one day. They said these fellas are nuts. They throw their brains in a bucket of water. They go out and race, and then they come back in and they put their brains back in. And that sums it up in a nutshell. Because you go out there and you just go loose, do whatever you want,
Yeah.
and you come back in and hope she's all good.
And that's the thing,
Put the brain back in.
an exciting motorsport in the world as far as I'm concerned, and I shouldn't be having to do this shit on a shitty little camcorder and talk to you legends. It should be fucking taken care of, and there's a lot of guys that do invest their time into it. Steve the Mary's one and stuff, and we need to embrace that kind of thing and get everyone together and get on the same level.
Hey, it's brutal. It's brutal, but we all love it, and that's why we're all here. And we love turning it on for the public and for our mates and everybody else, and our adrenaline buzz. So.
Nice. Kyle, yourself, respected Rod?
Oh, I've got quite a few actually. Probably Peter Bingston and Kim Lace, probably the two from down in Palmerston, Wellington way. You know, over the years, probably looked up to Rodney because he was our fastest local car for many years. Even though probably shouldn't have had him on the back after a horse already did. But no, I think there's, you know, when you race for a long time, you end up with quite a lot of mates in the sport from throughout the whole countryside, and you respect a lot of those guys. You know, I think Peter Eves has probably been the pinnacle of racing for a long time, and you know, young Asher that came through and obviously finished up. But there's been some great rivalries over the years. You know, probably our best thing was teams champs, you know, you can go out and smash your best mate and then go and have a beer with them afterwards, you know, where you sort of couldn't do that in individual racing, you know, if you were calling a good rivalry. So there's some guys that we've teams raced against lots of times, you know, that we've absolutely hammered each other on the track, but first thing you do is go over and shake their hand and make sure they're okay, you know, even though you want to knock them out at the same time. So
Unless you kill them, great.
I think you meet some pretty good friendships through Speedway, and that's something that I've obviously always cherished. So you know, it's been pretty good sport for me, really.
Nice. Yourself, Kerry? You've raced with every team's racer in the country now. So.
Every team as well.
Yeah, I come through probably a couple of different eras of the sport, like the old boys versus and then into this new era.
It is a unique era because you have gotten to see the best of every generation that's come through.
Yeah, done you probably look at it, it's probably 3 eras really when you look at it. Obviously back in the day, like 93 when I first had a skid in Mark's car, you know, his car was at my work and we sort of maintained it in my work, and I learned a bit off Mark. Obviously I didn't try to keep up with the drinking side of things, but yeah, I learned a bit off Mark, and obviously with Craig Pearce, because the family owned the car and he was a driver, I learned a bit then, so they were two to look up to. And then sort of later on, once I started racing myself, obviously me and Rodney were at different tracks. We had a few rivalries back then, so it was always a challenge to try and foot it with Rodney. And
Took me out of the New Zealand champs.
Hold on. What a lot of people don't know, Rodney took Kerry out in Wellington.
Yeah, so back in the day, we won't go there, but me and Rodney had some good rivalries, so it was always a challenge, you know, if you can get one up on Rodney and he got a few up on me, vice versa. But you know, we had some good rivalries back then, and coming through, and like I say, I've gone through a few eras of the sport now, and there's been a lot of awesome drivers, and everyone out on the track, just respect them all, because what we do is something unique, you know.
Nice. So, Mark, before we listen to a couple of yours, why'd you paint the car pink?
Well, I actually were talking out there before. I have no idea why we had a pink. It was just the old man decided we were going pink, and I had permed hair and a moustache. So they called me the Pink Poodle. Pink Poodle flame, isn't it? You can have permed hair, a moustache, and paint your car pink, and still come 3 ends in.
I thought you were called Duke Diggler back then.
Don't need a penis for that.
But now the people that I've respected through my years, and I went down, I've been raced 30 years now. One was definitely Dutchy, but we didn't really get far at Taupo because we had so many meetings going on up here at Rotorua, Auckland, Huntley. So you know, you had your Barry Hunters, your Dutchy, and your Carlisles. So those were basically the people that I looked up to here, and the Frank Irvines. And like I say, we didn't travel much south. Back in those days when I started, even Dutchy really was probably much the mover of everybody, but the Carlisles and
I wouldn't go far with a pink car either.
Yeah. But we had a Camaro up here in the north that we always raced hard, and if you fucked up, and they certainly made you punish, and you got punished.
The numbers were still massive then, and yeah, like I say, there was a lot of action in
numbers. Yeah, we didn't need to go down south, so we had enough numbers north of Taupo, so we really did a lot of our racing around up here.
Nice.
Baypark was always strong.
Yes.
And that's why I came to them when Huntley was getting down on numbers. If you wanted to get on top, you come to the track where most of the cars are, and that's why Palmy is doing it now.
I remember I asked you in an interview years and years ago, just a written one, and you said exactly that to me. If you wanted to race with the best, Baypark was the place to be.
Yeah, if you want to get up and get on that pace, you've got to race with the hard drivers, and if you can't hack it then, get the hell out of it.
Yeah. Pretty much. Mark as well, yourself, you have rattled off a couple of names earlier, but anyone else you want to?
I guess, yeah, well, I fall into a bit of a situation, I suppose.
Gender pay gap.
Thanks, Stace. But I suppose I got brought into the Superstock fruition, I suppose, a couple of years ago. definitely got introduced with Kyle Fraser. So definitely hands off to him and all the support he's given me.
I feel like the rubbing wood at this table now.
We'll forgive you later.
Have you ever felt that tall before?
And then we move along, and we've got Horse that gave me the opportunity to, you know, obviously race with the Superstocks.
Now I'm Rodney. Didn't have it for long.
Then I was fall back to all the stock car guys. You know, it was definitely the making and breaking of Speedway season, I guess. You know, the likes of Jaden Ward, definitely. Jordan Deere, the Reezers, they played a big part in how you, I guess, you know, at the New Zealands when you go to gauge yourself and where you finish. And definitely all the
biggest rival in mini stocks.
Damien Me and Damien got on pretty
Was
good
it?
back then.
That was a trick question. You didn't answer it. Mate.
I don't actually mind. But, you know, you know, the rivals go on, and that's what keeps the sport alive at the end of the day, and that's what keeps the crowd coming back for more.
Who's your biggest rival?
My biggest rival,
Nobody.
I actually would have to say Jordan Deere. You know, we've
You need to
come
smoke them.
through the Speedway season.
Get up, boys!
You need to smoke them, because,
Get him now, he's in the room.
I respect Jordan
Get another beer.
for all, you know, the way he's going, and he's going good, definitely.
He said the same thing about you when his mullet touched the diff, you know. So it's good to see it goes both
No,
ways.
but definitely, anyone that, at the end of the day, anyone that steps forward and progresses in the, you know, Stockhouse, you know, the whole family, I guess, and it's we all go out there to keep the you know, the spectators coming back for more and more. And no, good on Kerry, and I wish him all the best for the World Finals.
Tongue tied.
We will see you next team season. Kerry? Wicked.
Hey, yeah, no, I really appreciate coming over here and interviewing you guys. You're legends to me, and you know, to do it for Baypark as well. It's that track. There was an enigma about it, and so it's cool to come over here and do this kind of thing. And thanks again, Kerry, for putting all this on and getting everyone together. I know you had a lot to do with rounding all these boys up and making it happen, and getting Dutchie and Rodney a part of it as well. And but yeah, really appreciate it, you guys, and thanks for putting together a good show.
Yep. There's one more thing I'd like to say. Which we haven't actually said. We've always talked about Rex Pollock, but you've also got to remember, since we came back with this crew here, Chicken Man was a major sponsor of this thing, and probably, and if not, just as much as Rex Pollock. So I'd just like to thank Chicken Man for being on board with us for all those years too.
Yeah, cool.
Cheers, to it, boys.
Cheers, where's my drink?